All right, the foundation has been laid, so let's have some fun.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hey travelers, welcome back to Roberto's Room. We are full swing into the DC universe. If you haven't checked out my chapter 1, really the phase 1 of my DC universe, building a better DC universe, go check that out. We have now laid the groundwork in that video to really have some fun with this next one and really be creative with the projects coming up. Again, I'm going to, if you don't remember from my chapter 1 video, I am going to build up to Darkseid and having a phase 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. And so we are building up to Darkseid, but this is what my chapter 2 would be in my DC universe. However, before we get into it, if you would, please drop a like down below. Please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you haven't subscribed, I would love to have you on board the channel. We just hit 100 subscribers not too long ago, so I am super excited to continue to share videos like this with you. I've got some more ideas cooking, so again, stay tuned for all of those and make sure that you hit that notification bell to be notified anytime we go online.
Smile, everyone! We're back.
So I would start out my phase 2 with something new. I think that phase 2 should be about amplifying or building out the universe now that we have made a strong foundation for the universe to stand on, with introducing all of the major players of the Justice League. And I would introduce on April 26th, 2030, Shazam, and I would actually keep it exactly the same as it was in the current DCEU, the now defunct, unfortunately, DCEU, with Zachary Levi as Shazam. I think he brought a childlike energy, and I really like the cast of Shazam. Honestly, I know that the second one was a little bit of a misfire. However, what the first one was able to accomplish, even with all of the references to the Justice League, especially now that we've built it out a little bit more, make a lot more sense in my version of the DC universe. Next up, I thought we'd have a little fun with the DC universe and have from August 1st to September 5th, 2030, a show called Gotham Sirens. I would have that be a team-up show with Harley Quinn, who was previously introduced in the Suicide Squad show, and have this be the introduction of my DC Universe's Catwoman and Poison Ivy, which again, go nuts in the comments as far as casting is concerned. And I would use this show to set up the Riddler in Gotham, who we did not see in the first Batman film, with all the rogues gallery that was introduced in the Arkham lockup, and also use this series to set up Mr. Freeze, that will be a villain in one of the upcoming Batman films as well. Next up in my DC universe, on November 22nd, 2030, I would have another Batman film, Batman One Man War, and this actually is to follow up on the tease at the end of Justice League with Lex Luthor revealing Batman's name to Deathstroke, and I would have this be the cause for Deathstroke to go after Batman that had been slighted. We can actually also set up what happened between them in the past to cause this war between Gotham's Dark Knight and DC's Terminator. This is a battle that we've always wanted to see on screen, and I thought this is a good way to continue Batman's story, pitting two men that are really the same but on opposite ends of the spectrum. And I mean, we need a Joe Manganiello Deathstroke, especially against Ben Affleck's Batman. That is just a must-have in a DC universe, because I think those two were pitch perfect casting for the DC universe, and I want to bring both of those castings here to mine. And I would use this movie to introduce Dick Grayson into the film, and again, I'm open to hearing what you guys would think of casting for Dick Grayson, but I figured this would be a good movie to introduce him in. That way, the rest of the Batman movies, he's there, he's present, and also to set him up for Teen Titans, which will happen in Chapter 3 of the DC Cinematic Universe. Then on March 7th, 2031, I wanted to have Black Adam. Yes, I'm still going to keep The Rock. I think he looked fantastic as Black Adam. However, I would change the story just a little bit and not have it be as rock-centric and really force him to, for once, come out of a shell and act and not just play himself.
Emotional, damn it!
I think that a lot of that movie was a missed opportunity, but there was a lot they did right, especially with the Justice Society, so I wanted to keep that. I think that Hawkman was pitch perfect, and Dr. Fate was also pitch perfect, and I wanted to keep those especially, and I mean, honestly, Dwayne Johnson looked the part as Black Adam, but I think his performance could have been tailored a little bit more to Black Adam instead of having him play himself. I would also keep the Superman tease as well, as we're going to build into that later on. But like I said, I think the movie was good and I want to keep most of it, just tinker with it a little bit to fit more my DC universe. Next, on June 6th, 2031, we have Man of Steel 2, First Contact, and I wanted this to be a movie that pits Superman against Brainiac, who I have Mark Hamill playing Brainiac. I figured that would be a really good choice, especially with the voice casting. Could be something more mocap oriented than physical as far as the character and bringing the character to life. And I would have this movie end with Brainiac intercepting a message from Darkseid and using that information as we go forward in the DC universe. Next up, kind of following up on Black Adam, on August 5th to September 9th, 2031. I really wanted to have a Dr. Fate show. Again, I thought that Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate was pitch perfect casting, and I wanted to have him get a show so that way you get that side of the DC universe. I would have him face off in his first season against Dr. Chaos, and again, really explore that corner of DC. I think that it hasn't been explored really hardly at all other than the Black Adam movie, and I figured that would be a good opportunity to explore the more mystical side of DC. After that, on November 21st, 2031, I would have Aquaman 2, Blood of the Manta. I did not like what they did with Aquaman 2 in the current DC universe. I think that was a really big missed opportunity. Although the villain was okay, I didn't find it menacing at all. And the whole movie really was kind of a hodgepodge. And it really should have focused more on the rivalry between Aquaman and Black Manta. And that is exactly what I'm going to do with my Aquaman 2, Blood of the Manta, having both Aquaman and Black Manta officially face off, because Aquaman 1 was more about King Orm versus Black Manta, and using this movie as well to set up Justice League 2. Then on March 5th, 2032, we have Wonder Woman 2032. I figured that would be kind of a play on the Wonder Woman 1984 for the Wonder Woman sequel, and I would have it kind of be like it was in 1984, with her trying to make a life for herself in the current day, especially after the events of Justice League. I think that 1984 was one of the many stains on the DCEU's slate, and I really want to correct that, and I wanted her to face off in this movie against Cersei and Max Lord. I loved Max Lord, and honestly, for all the hate that Pedro Pascal is getting, which I think a lot of it is warranted, but that's a whole nother discussion, I think that his Max Lord was phenomenal, and I wanted to bring him back for this as he was in 1984, because I thought it was really good, and I actually liked the story surrounding him, but as we, I think, can all agree, Cheetah left a lot to be desired. Next up in 2032, after Wonder Woman, I wanted to have a Heroes of Thanagar show. Again, I loved what they did with Hawkman in the Black Adam film, and now that Dr. Fate has a show, I wanted to also give Hawkman and introduce Hawkgirl in the DCCU. I loved his take on Hawkman, and I wanted to continue that and really explore Thanagar and the Thanagarians. And I thought, show is a really great way to do that, especially with the performance that was given in Black Adam. Then on November 29th, 2032, I would have Blue Beetle. I actually liked the movie that was presented in the current DCEU, and I wanted to follow pretty much that movie to introduce Blue Beetle into the DC cinematic universe that I am creating. I liked the actor that played him as well. I thought he did a really good job. Yeah, the movie could have been a little stronger, and again, I wanted to leave that to you guys in the comments as to how you would redo Blue Beetle, but I liked introducing him here, especially at the end of the year, and really giving him a moment to shine as we build out the DC cinematic universe. Then, following Blue Beetle on June 24th, 2033, I would have Shazam 2. I still called it Fury of the Gods, although I didn't really like the villain. However, I love the family, and I like the story around the family, just not the villain. So I want to leave it to you guys to figure out the plot for this movie, but I figured this would be a good opportunity to lead him into joining the Justice League for the next Justice League film, which would be upcoming in my DC cinematic universe. Following up Shazam 2, I would have Season 3 of the Green Lantern TV show going from August 4th to September 3rd, 2033. And now I would have the close of the Sinestro storyline and the Sinestro Corps involved here as well. I would have Sinestro recruiting Arkillo to go after the Lanterns and really show the darkness of Sinestro now that we've built him up for 3 seasons. Following Season 3 of the Green Lantern TV show, November 18th, 2033, I would have Booster Gold get his own movie. I love this character. I love how fun this character can be if handled properly, and I figured to give him his own movie and really explore his origins in the DC cinematic universe that I'm creating with his own movie. I would leave casting up to you guys and let me know who you would pick for Booster Gold. And then, kind of the culmination of Chapter 2 of the DC Cinematic Universe, I would have Justice League Doom on June 2nd, 2034. And this is a movie that would have the Justice League, which now includes Shazam and Green Lantern, John Stewart, teaming up against the Legion of Doom, which again was kind of set up at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I wanted to pull that end credit scene and pull the implications of that. I would have the Legion of Doom consisting of Black Manta, Brainiac, Lex Luthor, Riddler, and Maxwell Lord, all who we have seen kind of set up in previous iterations. And at the end of Justice League Doom, I would have it be revealed that Lex Luthor has been in contact with Darkseid, and he, along with Riddler, are trying to solve the anti-life equation, going into the next phase or next chapter of the DC Cinematic Universe as we finally get to Darkseid. Then closing out Chapter 2 of the DC Cinematic Universe, I would have Suicide Squad Season 2 from August 3rd to September 28th, 2034. Now with this show, I wanted to be kind of almost an anthology show where you have different team members on different seasons, as of course we know that the Suicide Squad's roster does change, and I wanted this one to be more akin to what we saw in Assault on Arkham, if you've ever seen that animated movie, with Rick Flag, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, Killer Croc, Bronze Tiger, and Copperhead. I want this to be a season where they are tasked with finding Riddler, again, which we have seen kind of teased in other projects, who has teamed up with Professor Pig and Man-Bat to prepare for Darkseid's arrival to Earth. Again, we are building everything together and we are going full bore towards Darkseid in Chapter 3. Lastly, to close out Chapter 2 of the DC Cinematic Universe, I would have Batman Heart of Ice on November 17th, 2034, and I would have Batman versus Mr. Freeze, who I think should be played by Ralph Fiennes. I think he would do a fantastic job in the role. Him or Giancarlo Esposito would also, I think, would kill Mr. Freeze, and I think Mr. Freeze is in desperate need of an update. And I would also use this film to introduce Batgirl, played by Anna Kendrick, and really play up the tragic villain aspect of Mr. Freeze, who lost his wife, and pull all that from the comics, as I feel like his story is one that is beautifully tragic, and with really Arnold Schwarzenegger's version, the only one that we've had so far, there's a lot to be desired. Well, that was my Phase 2, Chapter 2 of the DC Universe. I think that a lot of really cool things are now ongoing that I'm going to be following up in my Chapter 3 as we close out really the Darkseid War saga of the DC Universe, and I'm super excited to share that with you, so definitely stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching this video, travelers, and as always, go with grace.